Hello, gazers.
Hello, gazers.
Here we are again, the Problematic Gaze.
Here we are again. I'm Dr. Arnott.
And I'm Dave Moor.
And each episode we'll take a piece of pop culture for the last 60-odd years and examine it through the problematic lens and ask ourselves, is it problematic? If it is, why? And what that says about society and culture then and now.
And before we take a deep dive into our chosen topic, we'll look at the news events of the day, the TV and film landscape, and the pop charts, just to put our chosen topic into context.
Into context. Well done.
Well done, you.
Very good.
Yeah, that was very good considering we're literally about to fall asleep 5 minutes ago.
Yes, we just had a big lunch.
Yeah, we're here at PG Manor again.
Working lunch.
A working lunch.
Yes.
Wine was involved.
Yes. Not much, though.
No.
We've got a big episode today. We need to be...
We do.
We've got a dame in the house.
We have got a dame in the house.
Yeah.
Before we do that,
Yes.
can we just ask our gazers, old and new, please press that follow button, because we are an independent podcast. We do everything ourselves. We've not got any big conglomerates to help us through. But if you hit that follow button, then it will really help to spread the word of the Problematic Gaze. And we thank you in advance for supporting us.
Yes, we do.
So we are at PG Manor.
Yes, we are. In the country.
My in-laws, Jill and Edward, or affectionately known as Jedward,
yeah.
are in the building as well. I've prepared a lovely little luncheon for them before my husband whisks his mum and dad away to watch Aber Voyage.
Aber Voyage.
What it's called, isn't it?
Aber Voyage.
Aber Voyage. If we're going to split hairs this early on, Ebba.
We want Ibba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our last episode, Blind Date, went down very, very well.
Yes, it did. So that was a big hat, wasn't she?
Can we put your Cilla Black impression to bed now, please?
It's going to be Joni C today.
Joni C. Okay, without further ado then. Lee, this is one of yours.
Yes.
This is one of your Roman empires.
Yes.
Tell the gazers what we're going to be deep diving into today.
We're going to be deep diving into Joan Collins because today we are looking at the 1978 behemoth of British cinema, The Stud.
The Stud.
You got to say it like that, haven't you? The Stud. Yeah. What's his name? What's his game? What is his name? What is his game? We'll find out.
Yes, we will. We will.
What's your relationship to The Stud?
I know two things about The Stud. Having watched it maybe 20 years ago now.
Right.
A, Oliver Tobias, who plays The Stud, is quite hot.
Oh, he's gorgeous.
He's gorgeous.
Gorgeous he is.
Oh.
Gorgeous.
And that number two, Joan Collins, is fabulous in this.
Yes.
Written by her sister Jackie. And this kind of came in a lull of Joni's career, really.
This was very much the desert years.
Yes.
Yes. Joan's doing things like Empire of the Ants at the moment before The Stud comes and resurrect her career.
Wow. That's the two main things I know about it. What about you? What's your relationship with it?
I can't remember the first time I saw The Stud, but what I did have was the soundtrack first. When I was about 16, I discovered the joy of Bidu, who is Bidu, who is the composer of the soundtrack.
Right.
And I mean, the soundtrack is a plethora of wah-wah guitars, funky tunes. Apart from that weird bit in the orgy, there's quite a lot of boobs and bum in this film, everybody. Quite a lot.
And nipple action.
And a lot of nipples. I can't remember the first time I saw it, but I saw it and then saw The Bitch.
Is that the sequel?
The sequel, yeah, The Bitch. God help the man who gets the bitch. That's the strapline. And I just love them. I love them so much that my dog is called Fontaine after Joan's character, Fontaine Khaled. And I think they are up there in the best of the so bad they're good genre of filming.
I would urge anyone to seek out The Stud.
It's one for a glass of wine.
But before we do any of that,
yes,
let's put our chosen topic into context and head over to the news desk.
Let's do it. We have looked at 1978 already in our episode on Greece. Do check it out. But we've got some other events of the year. It's a very good year for otters, gazers.
Okay.
As on the 1st of January, the otter becomes a protected species, ending hunting of it. How many people used to hunt otters?
I suppose people used to hunt anything they could eat back in the day.
Technically, yes.
That's a bit of a obvious statement to make, isn't it? Please stay tuned, gazers, for more
in-depth analysis.
Yeah. Is that all you've got to say about otters?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
yeah,
fine.
yes,
Shall I delve into the next item?
Into the next one, yes.
On the 13th of February, an opinion poll conducted by the Daily Mail shows the Conservative opposition 11 points ahead of the Labour government with an election due by October next year. The turnaround in fortunes for the Conservatives, who last month were narrowly behind Labour, it's attributed to Margaret Thatcher's recent comments on immigration. And then on the 30th of March, Conservative Party recruit advertising agency Saatchi & Saatchi to revamp their image. So it's all guns blazing for the Tories.
It is. Next year's going to be the big election, obviously, where Thatcher will get in. And
Right.
This is the famous Saatchi & Saatchi advertising campaign, Labour isn't working, and that big line of people at the unemployment office. And of course, Thatcher's been doing that classic thing of stirring up anti-immigration, talking about a lack of integration, all this stuff, you know, just which we still see today.
We do.
8th of March, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is first broadcast by BBC Radio 4. What's your take on The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
I don't know much about it. Arthur Dent, that's all I know. And the two-headed guy from the TV series.
Zaphod Beeblebrox.
Yeah, it looked very fake.
Yes, but it was 1978.
Yeah.
Well, 79, I think, the TV series. It was huge, Hitchhikers. It was massive. It was...
Did you like it?
I saw it in the late 80s when they repeated it. I was a bit underwhelmed by it, if I'm being honest.
I mean, you were knee-deep in Doctor Who by this point,
Yeah.
weren't you? On the 3rd of April, permanent radio broadcasts of proceedings in the House of Commons begin. Gosh, that sounds very antiquated these days, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Yeah, I remember when there was a big hoo-ha when they put television cameras in for the first time.
Yeah.
I can't imagine listening to Parliament.
It'd be a bit dull. Yeah. This was back in the day when politicians were, quite rightly, dull.
But the thing was, you got the sense that at least there was some degree of skill or talent, or at least a kind of ethic to be trying to make things better, for better or worse. Could we just leave it there?
Yeah. Cut two.
Speaking of all things prime ministerial, the 7th of September, James Callaghan announces he will not call a general election that autumn. The buzz had been he was going to do it because actually that Conservative lead in the beginning of the year has gone. It's disappeared as quick as it came. And he was, in retrospect, probably silly not to have called it. Thatcher says, of course, that he's running scared. And he would have won the election with the majority, which would have kept Labour in power until 1983. But for some reason, he doesn't do it. And then we get Thatcher the next year.
Snooze, you lose.
Snooze, you lose, love.
On the 4th of November, many British bakeries impose a bread rationing after a baker's strike led to panic buying of bread. At the 10th of November, panic buying of bread. Stops as most bakers go back to work and start making bread. Yeah.
And everyone has bread.
Yeah.
Lots of strikes this time, 1978. The days lost to industrial action are huge throughout the 70s. And it's going to kick off next year with the winter of discontent. 3-day weeks brought in because there's not enough coal because everyone's on strike. On the 29th of November, Viv Anderson, who's a 22-year-old Nottingham Forest defender. Listen to me talking about football.
Oh, how very butch.
Oh, I'm like Jimmy Greaves, love. He becomes England's first black international footballer when he appears in a 1-0 friendly win over Czechoslovakia at Wembley Stadium, only 6 months after he became the first black player to feature in an English League Championship winning team, and was also on the winning side in the final of the Football League Cup. I didn't understand the last two parts of that sentence.
You lost me a little bit.
Yeah, but
glazed over.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge thing. At this time, the National Front is massive. The Anti-Racism League has been formed. So we've got this real problem. Thatcher's talking about people of colour negatively. So this is kind of great strides forward to get a black player which challenges those stereotypes and basically a way of saying, well, fucking here, guys, and we're not going anywhere. So deal with it, you know. He will, unfortunately, obviously deal with a shitload of racism which still goes on in football to this day. So, but anyway, good on you, Viv.
On the 26th of September, 23 Ford car plants are closed across Britain due to strikes. On the 21st to 22nd of December, the BBC is hit by a series of strikes. And from the 21st of December, BBC One and BBC Two television are taken off air.
Yeah. This was a big symbolic moment as well because TV had become the nation's kind of panacea. In 1979, ITV will be off air for 3 months.
Wow.
Because of strikes. So, again, strikes are a massive, massive thing at this point. Yeah, mixed bag of a year, 1978.
Yes, some highs, some lows.
Some highs, some lows.
Some positive moves forward and some regressive steps back.
Yes.
But was it ever thus?
Was it ever thus, love? Should we have a little looky at what was in the cinemas in 1978? Now, we have looked, as I said in our Grease episode, at the top films, but I think it's worth another look because there are some big hitters of the year, including, obviously, The Stud.
This is kind of like a refresher.
Yes.
Because it has been a while since our Grease episode, so our gazers who are dedicated to us weekly.
It's old news for them.
It'll be old news to them.
Yeah.
To our new gazers, who we have to acknowledge as well.
Yes, we do.
Yes, so old gazers, bear with us.
Yes.
Number 10, The
Stud. There it is. It was a big film.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big... And it grossed 1.3 million at the box office.
Wow.
It was big in America as well.
Yeah.
It resurrects Joan. Joan will get Alexis on the back of the bitch. ABBA the Movies at number 12, just floating around the top 10. Number 9, we've got Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. I was really disappointed as a child that the car wasn't a funny car.
Yeah, I wasn't really into Herbie.
No,
Was that Disney?
I think it was.
Okay, number 8, The Wild Geese.
War.
War.
What is it good for?
Soldiers.
Soldiers. Revenge of the Pink Panther at number 7.
Love the Pink Panther movies.
I have been scarred because I thought it was going to be the cartoon.
I just remember my mum and dad howling at the Pink Panther movies.
I remember my dad loved them as well, howling at them.
They're great, great.
7th biggest film of the year.
Yes. I thought you said your dog didn't bite. That is not my dog.
Are you speaking in tongues? What's happening here? What's happening?
That's a joke told woefully badly from Pink Panther.
Don't give up the day job, love.
Okay, I won't. I'm much more used behind the camera.
Hide that light under a bushel, love.
Okay, number 6, Game of Death. Looks like, it's a Bruce Lee movie.
Looks like.
Bruce Lee dressed very similarly to Uma Thurman there from Kill Bill.
Yeah, yellow catsuit with black stripes down it. Number 5, Saturday Night Fever. Let's not be said that The Stud is perhaps in some scenes trying to emulate Saturday Night Fever, but clearly this is the vibe at the time.
Disco in its heyday, would you say?
Yes, I mean, this is probably the height of disco, 1978, 79, for sure.
Speaking of musicals and John Travolta, number 4 is Grease. Listen to our Grease episode.
Yeah, it's fun. Number 3, Superman. I love that film.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I actually believe Superman was real.
So did I. I was convinced he was going to come to Morpeth and fall in love with me, obviously.
Yeah. Whisk you away.
Yes.
In your blue chiffon floaty dress.
Pyjama suit.
Yeah. Whenever it was my birthday around this time, I used to either wish that I was Superman or wish that the TARDIS would materialise in my lounge and the Doctor would emerge and say, do you want to come on some adventures?
Oh, could you imagine?
Yeah.
I still want that. Number 2, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Mm-hmm.
I was a bit underwhelmed by Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
I was a bit underwhelmed about it.
And it's got a real toxic representation of masculinity in it.
Is it?
Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss's character is a bit of an arsehole. He doesn't give a shit about his wife and kids. He's just a bit obsessed and focused and what's number 1?
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Loved Star Wars. I used to think Star Wars was real.
I went to the cinema to see it, 5 years old. Couldn't understand any of it. I was just really bored. I didn't really didn't clock on to Return of the Jedi, which is by all accounts the worst one. But I thought the Ewoks were so cute. I mean, clearly aimed at 10-year-olds and 9-year-olds, weren't they? And it worked.
And the race through the forest on the hoverbike things.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. So the studs were kind of released to great competition. You got ABBA the movie.
Yeah, Saturday Night Fever, Star
Wars. So yes.
To be fair, The Stud is very much its own thing and it's not really in competition with Star Wars. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's probably more in competition with What's Up, Superdoc.
Yes.
Looking at the picture of What's Up, Superdoc.
Yes.
Lot of suspenders and boobs.
I can imagine there'll be quite a lot of people furtively going to the cinema, having heard about what the Stud was about, and that it was quite racy.
Oh, yeah.
1 ticket to the Stud, please.
Yeah, 1 ticket to the Stud. Shall we have a look at the pop charts? The week commencing the 30th of April, 1978.
Let's do it. Let's do top 20.
Top 20. How many do you think we're going to know?
I think probably quite a lot. I'm going to imagine there's quite a bit of disco in there.
Well, let's have a look.
Yeah. Okay, top 20. More Like the Movies, Doctor Hook.
No Doctor Hook, obviously. Don't know that one. Take Me, I'm Yours.
Don't get fresh.
Sorry, Dave. Can't help myself. That by Squeeze.
Sometimes When We Touch. Number 18, Dawn Hill.
Dan Hill, even.
Oh. I haven't got my glasses on.
I've made it as big a print as I possibly can. I'm going to have to stop doing this in Braille. It's like doing a podcast with Helen Keller. Baker Street, Jerry Rafferty.
Yeah, I hated that song.
Did you?
Yeah.
I love that song.
I worked with a girl once who was sat at the desk next to me and she wore her earphones. It blared out the whole office.
Right.
And she literally had Baker Street by Jerry Rafferty on repeat.
Oh, God,
I
that's
just
a bit
thought it was
weird.
rather strange.
That wasn't the girl with Tourette's, was it?
No, I don't know who that is.
The one who shouted out in the Diana 2-minute silence.
No. Who shouted out, "Don't speak." Number 16, Jack and Jill by...
Radio. Go, your eyes that bad?
Yeah, I can't see a
You
thing.
might crow on about being younger than me, but honestly, put your specs on.
Well, like I say, my eyes haven't corrected themselves yet. Like they do in old people, like you.
That's Radio with a Y.
Okay.
Just for cookie spelling.
Yeah.
Number 15, She's So Modern, the Boomtown Rats.
I used to hate the Boomtown Rats.
I don't like Mondays, obviously.
I just thought they were a bit... Oh, I can't say it.
Don't say it. Don't say
It's
it.
scruffy looking.
Oh, spartan yourself up, Bob Geldof. Comb through that hair.
Number 14, Everybody Dance, Chic.
Great song,
Talking about disco, Studio 54 and all that.
Yeah. The Bad Old Days, Coco. Coco were our Eurovision entry that year, and that was their song. Cheryl Baker was in that group.
Really?
Pre-Bucks Fizz, yeah. Wasn't Null Point, but it wasn't the glory one.
Right.
Cheryl will, of course, come back 3 years later and romp home to victory with a skirt whipped off.
Thirsty, that one.
Thirsty
Ambitious.
for Eurovision.
Cutthroat.
I love her. Friend of the pod.
Number 12, Singing in the Rain, Sheila and B Devotion.
Yes, this is a disco cover of Singing in the Rain. Sheila was France's version of Sandy Shaw. Had been a huge star in the 60s.
Yeah.
Kind of folk poppy, and then comes back. And a year after this, Niles Rodgers will write Spacer for her.
Okay.
Because what's interesting, because we've got Star Wars and we've got Close Encounters, so suddenly the charts in the next year start to get really spacey. So you get a song called Spacer, you get I Lost My Heart to a Starship Trooper. I love this kind of space disco you get at this time.
Is Sheila and B Devotion, did she sing Ain't Nothing Going On But the Rent?
No. Sheila wishes she had, but she hadn't. I urge anybody to go and watch the video for Spacer because it's fabulous.
Okay.
They're basically dancing with lightsabers and stuff, and it's really cool. Not as cool as I Lost My Heart to a Starship Trooper, though, which is just mind-blowingly shit. Great. Shit/great.
Number 11, Follow You, Follow Me by Genesis.
Yeah. I quite like that song, though. Number 10, Let's All Chant, the Michael Zager Band. You'll know that one.
Very disco-y.
Very disco-y.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 9, With a Little Luck by Wings.
Wings. Obviously, Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
And Linda.
On the tambourine.
Oh,
I love this one. This is one of me and my husband's songs.
Yeah, it's a great. This was If You Can't Give Me Love by Susie Quattro. This is Susie's big comeback.
Right.
She's obviously been a huge glam rock star in 1973, 74. Goes away for a year or two and comes back with this top 10 hit for her. It's a great song.
Well, you may be the king of this discotheque thing, but honey, I ain't looking for that.
That's so true, darling. I see what you did there. But if anybody hasn't heard the song, Dave Watch just quoting the lyrics. You're just being a bit weird suddenly.
Number 7, I Wonder Why by Curtis Stigers. No, that's not right. I Wonder Why by Shawaddy Waddy.
I wonder why I can't take my eyes off the lead singer of Shawaddy Waddy in his tight pants.
Oh,
I wonder
really?
why. Wonder why.
Take your eye out.
You look like I could. This is a bit of 50s revival in the charts at this point. Grease, obviously, is riding the vanguard of that. Automatic Lover, D.D. Jackson.
Number 5, Never Let Us Slip Away by Andrew Gold.
Harmful, nice tune. Harmless, not harmful.
Yeah, I would place him in the same category as Jerry Rafferty.
And Coldplay. Too much, too little, too late, Dave. That's what I say to you.
Yeah.
Johnny Mathis and Denise Williams.
Very good. That was a bit of dirge, wasn't it?
It was, but I love both of those singers.
Right. Number 3, Matchstalk Men and Matchstalk Cats and Dogs.
I never realised it was Matchstalk. I always thought it was Matchstick.
Yeah, by Brian and Michael.
Brian and Michael. That's a real memory of 1978, actually, isn't it? Number 2, Rivers of Babylon, Brown Girl and the Ring by Boney M.
Class.
I mean, I love a bit of Boney M.
Love a bit of Boney M.
Can't lie. Ready for number 1?
Yes.
It had to be, didn't it?
Yeah. Number one is Night Fever by the Bee Gees.
Yeah, well,
Riding High.
the disco anthem right there. We associate the Bee Gees so much with this era and disco, but they've been around since the 60s.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Again, this was a revamp for them. And they were accused at the time of jumping on the disco bandwagon.
Yeah.
They're doing a soundtrack for a film about fucking disco, of course you are.
Yeah.
You know, what do you want me to do? Write folk songs? Would you like to tell us a bit about The Stud, Dave?
The Stud is a 1978 British drama film directed by Quentin Masters and starring Joan Collins and Oliver Tobias. It's based on the 1969 novel of the same name by Collins' younger sister, Jackie Collins, who also wrote the screenplay.
Jackie and Joan.
Jackie and Joan.
We have to mention Lucky Bitches, don't we?
Yes.
If anybody's not seen it, French and Saunders back in the day did this amazing sketch about Lucky Bitches, which was Joan and Jackie Collins.
Yes.
I saw Jackie Collins in LA. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. We were outside this restaurant having a fag, and she was sitting outside the restaurant having lunch with a pal.
Oh.
And I went to my friend, I went, there's Jackie Collins. And my friend went, it's not Jackie Collins. And this really camp gay guy walked past and went, oh my God, it's fucking Jackie Collins. Like this. And she went, hello, darling. And then carried on. It's like, oh.
Now, Jackie Collins, let's just talk about her for a second. She was mega famous. You know, her books sold by the bucket load all around the world, didn't they?
Yes.
And many a teenage boy, it has to be said, some of their first experiences and forays into the world of sex was probably
reading Mum's Jackie Collins.
Yeah, and flicking to the dirty bits.
Totally. And one thing I quite admire in Jackie Collins is that her books are filled with women who know what they want. I remember seeing on Wogan in the late 80s, she was on there being interviewed with Barbara Cartland.
Yes.
And Barbara Cartland's having a go at her for her filth. And she's like, well, we're in the same market. You know, we're just two sides of the same thing. It's just my women aren't afraid to go what they want and to go for it.
Yeah, she wasn't afraid of selling sex.
No, not at all.
Because her reasoning was like, sex makes the world go round.
Yeah.
Well, it portrayed this kind of glam, glitzy, sexy lifestyle of the rich and famous, didn't it? But it presented it in all its dirty glory.
Yes.
Like the good side and the downside of it, which is very much what happens in this film.
We started to watch Hollywood Wives recently, the 80s version, the miniseries. Shit, it was really boring.
Really?
Yeah, it was really dull. It was really badly filmed.
Yeah. I would kind of equate Jackie Collins, well, I know Jackie Collins was internationally renowned, but as is Jilly Cooper to a certain extent.
Yes.
If anyone's seen the recent adaptation of Rivals, which went down really well, it was a huge success. Again, and portrays the rich set with very human lives, with their foibles.
Yes. Do you want to know what happens in this film, Dave?
Yes, let's do it.
Right, gazers, buckle up because it is The Stud. Fontaine Khaled has it all. A wealthy Arab husband whose money she spends on a party lifestyle and her nightclub, Hobo. Hobo is managed by Tony on the understanding that he satisfies Fontaine's rapacious sexual needs in order to keep his job. But Tony is increasingly less interested in Fontaine, tired of being objectified and treated like a plaything. He falls for Fontaine's stepdaughter Alex, who uses Tony to get back at wicked stepmother Fontaine after discovering a video of Fontaine and Tony having sex in Fontaine's private elevator. It's a surprising class struggle which involves an all-star music cast, I say all-star, cameo appearances from Top of the Pops dance troupe Legs & Co, and an orgy that's like something from the end of Rome and quite frankly has to be seen to be believed. Discuss.
Well, lots to discuss.
Lots to discuss. Shall we start off with Fontaine?
Yes, Joan Collins.
Yes. I mean, Joan looks fucking amazing in this film. You know, she's 40 at this point. She looks fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, her styling, her outfits are just gorgeous. But Fontaine is a grade A. I'm not going to mince my words here. She's a C word. I am going to mince my words. Yeah, she's a grade A. And I don't like her. She's got no charm about her in a way that Alexis, who's going to be 3 years after this, she makes her Dynasty debut.
Yeah.
Alexis is great, fun, but Fontaine just seems right nasty.
Well, yeah, and I wonder how much of that is to do with the fact that Alexis was a mother. So a lot of her human qualities came out in her mother inside, even though she was, she was a bitch.
Yeah.
She was ruthless, but it kind of all came down to the love of her kids at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to say here because it might sound a bit problematic, but I just felt like Fontaine was just a bit aimless in life.
Yes, they do mention that she can't have kids because she had an abortion, didn't she, that went wrong?
Oh, did she? I missed
Yeah,
that bit.
yeah. But you're right. She's kind of like the lazy rich, isn't she? She's got
Yes.
this indolent lifestyle that is just...
Her primary focus is her own pleasure.
Yes, absolutely.
So whether that's through sex or through power.
Yeah.
She will step on anyone to get what she wants.
Yeah.
It's all about the immediacy of pleasure, I would say.
Yes. She's a bit of a sexual predator
Yes.
as well, Fontaine, isn't
Yeah.
she? There's a scene with her and her best pal in having a massage, both with fags on the go
Yeah.
while having their massage. I mean, that's class.
And that's Sue Lloyd, isn't it?
Yes,
It's played by
yes,
Sue Lloyd, who
yes.
later went on to Crossroads.
That's right. And they're really kind of leery and they're talking openly about shagging. Fair enough. But then they're bringing in the male therapists who are clearly uncomfortable with the conversation. And it's just a bit predatory. One thing that struck me about this film was you get the stud, obviously Tony, and you get his other two male sex worker friends. They're the three kind of representations of males in this film.
Yes.
And the rest are women. But you could have just reversed the dialogue, the roles, and it wouldn't have made a difference.
Yeah.
So actually the women in this film act like men.
So what I would say about this is Fontaine's attitude towards men. It's kind of the same as the male's attitude towards women, that they're all, for want of a better word, disposable fuck toys,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
You know, it's often in this era that we see the male's attitude towards the women being like that, of being
Yes.
disposable, of being there for their pleasure. But it's quite rare we see a woman regard a male like that, isn't it? So-
Absolutely, yeah. And actually, just as you say, not regarding them particularly favourably. Misogyny is, hatred of women and disdain for women, and misandry is the hatred of men and disdain for men. And they do come across as quite misandristic. It's a really interesting point. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I suppose it's Jackie Collins' argument probably would be that, this is the way that men treat women. So
Yes.
why can't we have women that treat men that way as well?
Yeah, it just comes across, they come across a bit mean, don't they, the pair of them?
A bit mean. And if that's the primary focus of your world, then it's pretty basic,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, it's a bit vacuous, isn't it?
But also I think it stems from the rich. It's a
Yes.
portrayal of the rich being
Yeah.
bored. This question of status, of like, you have to own people. And it comes across very much like Fontaine, Joan, has moulded Tony and owns him.
Yes, he's very much her property,
Yes.
isn't he?
Yeah.
The titles are quite cool, aren't they?
Yes,
You get
they
this
are.
funky disco music,
Yeah.
the Beedoo soundtrack kicking in, and then it's a slow pan over all these photos of women with messages to Tony.
Yes.
Saying, "You're the best, Tony.
Yes.
Thanks for the best night of my life, Tony."
Yeah.
And then it pans up slow, doesn't it, as a picture of
Yes.
Jackie Collins. Thanks, Tony, little in joke.
Yeah.
Thanks for the best night of my life. Love, Jackie,
Yeah.
which I thought was quite cute.
Yeah, so even though this film is starring Joan Collins, she gets top billing. This is primarily a story about Tony.
Yes.
He's the main protagonist in it. It's called The Stud, and it's about Tony's antics throughout London. It's his journey, isn't it? It's his journey to redemption. So Oliver Tobias plays Tony, insanely handsome.
Yes, when he was a bit unhappy with The Stud afterwards because it kind of withered his career for a bit.
Yeah.
It kind of broken through in Hair, the musical.
Ah,
So he was
right.
used to being naked in public, him and Paul Nicholas, the original
Okay.
production, and clearly thought The Stud was going to be something it really
His
wasn't.
platform, his springboard.
Yeah, and of course he's not in the bitch at all.
Right.
His story is finished in
Yeah.
The Stud. Boobs.
So, gazers, prepare yourselves.
Yeah.
If boobs, bums, nipples
Yeah.
tickle your fancy,
Yes.
then this is the film for you.
Oh my God. There's quite a lot of muff.
Yes.
Can we say muff?
Yeah.
Through knickers. Nearly a hint of a dick, but obviously not, because this is 1970s, you rarely see
Yeah.
willies. It's very boobtastic, isn't it? Joan is not ashamed of getting her boobs out.
No.
And her bum. And they look great.
And I wouldn't be ashamed of getting my boobs and bum
No.
out if I looked like Joan
Yeah.
Collins in this
Yeah.
movie.
I mean, this film is trying so hard to be erotic and sexy. And I think it's one of the most unerotic, unsexy things I've ever seen in my life. Partly because Joan is from the old rank school of kissing, cinema kissing, where basically you just have your mouth shut and you just move your head. A bit like Kath and Kim, when Kim and Kel used to kiss. It's a bit
Yeah.
like that. And it's really difficult to kind of simulate
Yeah.
wild, abandoned sex, when you can't really do anything with your mouth,
Yeah.
I love the scene in the lift.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
so
quite infamous, that, isn't
it
it?
is, yeah.
Say.
And they do it in French and Saunders. They take the
Yes.
bid. So basically, Joan's got a private lift. Fontaine's got a private lift up to her apartment. Her and Tony get in it, and she stops it halfway through the floors, and then makes them have sex with her.
Yeah.
Filming it.
Yes.
He doesn't realise it being filmed.
Filming it for her pleasure
For
and
her
to
pleasure.
show to all her mates as
Yeah.
well.
Again, quite masculine, isn't it? Quite masculine behaviour. There's a scene later on where her and her best pal are watching this porno that she's made.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird, I thought. A little bit weird. And she said, well, I want to watch it again.
Yeah.
And Fontaine is basically going to give her Tony for a night of pleasure.
Yeah. Well, there's no consent there, is there?
No, there's not at all.
Tony's not consented to this.
Not at all.
In the modern days, you know, we get a lot of boys filming girls, posting it on the internet, etc.
Yeah.
I mean, it's illegal and morally it's abhorrent, but here we are glamorizing this kind of behavior in 1978.
Yeah.
So Tony's journey, just to kind of encapsulate it, he's basically owned by Joan. She's got him the job in the nightclub, and when Joan requests sex on call, he's there to provide it.
Yes.
His way of hosting this nightclub is to take women home and sleep with them and stuff. You know, he's getting a lot out of this as well.
Yes.
But there comes to a point where he's starting to get sick of it, starting to be in Joan's beck and call all the time, has aspirations of opening his own club, breaking away from this. He doesn't want to be the stud anymore, doesn't want to be a sex object. Ultimately, when Jodie's husband finds the video, he gets ceremonially elbowed from it. So that's kind of the story in a nutshell, really. There are other little subplots and stuff. The story is really flimsy.
Oh, it's flimsy. Talking about Tony, what quite surprised me this viewing actually was the whole class thing. Because Tony's a working class character in this world of posh people. He's got two pals who are also male gigolos, aren't they? Actually, their relationship, the three male characters, seems to be the only kind of truly, genuinely affectionate, and they're kind of looking out for each other.
Yeah.
But again, if the roles were reversed, it would be three female sex workers looking out for each other. It would be so easy to see it. But the message of this movie seems to be that if you're working class, you're fucked. You're fucked over by rich people. Yeah. You get lovely scenes of him in this upper class milieu, and then in scenes of him in like a greasy spoon with his pals. At one point, a character calls him a working class bum in Gucci shoes. So he gets pissed on because of his class. His mate says, don't let the ruling classes ruffle your feathers. Fontaine says to him at one point, I thought I trained that working class taboo out of you. You know, he's really pulled down for it. Yeah. When he clocks Alex, Fontaine's stepdaughter, one of the worst performances I've ever seen in Celluloid, I have to say. She's not very good, is she? He then falls for her. She invites him to have house for Christmas, but only to get him there to humiliate him and show him up. And he orders a rum and coke. Yeah. And that's like a real faux pas, isn't it? Yeah. And basically, the end of the film, Tony loses everything. Yes. He gets sacked. The sex tape's discovered. Last you see of Tony, just wandering off into no future at all. And the message seems to be, if you're rich, you can do whatever you want. You can shit all over the working class. This is not a class struggle film by any means, but kind of unwittingly it is. Yeah. Because let's face it, Jackie's not writing about Marxism and communism, is she? She's writing what she knows.
You see, I interpreted the ending slightly differently.
Right, go on.
Because I felt as though... So ultimately what happens is that Joan Collins' husband finds this video and promptly kicks Joan out and divorces her. And in the divorce settlement, she gets the club.
Yes.
Which Tony is still manager of. She goes in there and sacks Tony.
Yeah.
All Tony's plans and dreams to get his own club, they've all shattered. And the final shot of him is walking out the club. But to me, it seemed as though he was ready to leave all that anyway. And it was the final kick he needed to emancipate himself from everything.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. You could read it like that as well. Yeah. Absolutely. I'd like to think that's what was the case, but we'll never know.
We'll never know.
I mean, the end for Fontaine, there's very little comeback at all.
No.
And as we'll see in the bit, she's having a fucking great time, you know.
No, there's no comeback for Fontaine.
No.
Now, there's a bit of an unresolved thing. Fontaine's stepdaughter sleeps with Tony to exact revenge on her evil stepmother, Joan. But that story's never resolved.
No.
She never finds out about it.
She's just underwritten, isn't she? She's underwritten, underperformed. Yeah. The first time Tony sees her, she looks like a little mouse, doesn't she? And it was like...
It felt a bit creepy why Tony was immediately besotted with this young schoolgirl.
Yeah, well...
Now, there was a lot of that in this. Now, this is what I would say that was the most problematic element of this film, was its portrayal of schoolgirls, and quite clearly schoolgirls, as sex objects.
Yeah.
Now, you could say this was a sign of the times, the late 70s.
Yes. Yeah,
So
it is, absolutely. And one of Tony's pals only goes out with young girls. He says at one point, when Tony asks him, where'd you get this one from? He says something like, I just followed the school bus around, you know, quite unashamedly.
Yeah. This epitomised our podcast for me.
Yeah.
Because today we can judge that as being perverted, being illegal fundamentally.
Yes.
But you have to look at, and this isn't by no means trying to justify it, you have to look at the cultural context of the time. That this was the norm.
Listen, 10 years later, Bill Wyman is going to marry Mandy Smith.
Yeah.
But the press and everything is just like, good on you, Bill. This was a thing. Yeah. Young girls were fair game.
Yeah.
Think of all that Jimmy Savile stuff that came out and the culture of the time. It's just endemic, isn't it? You know, under 16s were ripe for the picking.
Yeah.
And we've talked more about that whole thing about certain straight male need to deflower virginity, you know, to take it. It's all part and parcel of this, isn't it? It's an imbalance of power. There's... Oh, it was really seedy, wasn't it?
It was really seedy and really icky, and it really stood out to me like as one of the problematic elements. All the other stuff with Joan and Fontaine's behaviour and the guy's behaviour.
Yeah.
You know, you could see it as two consenting adults, regardless of whether they're absolute arseholes to each other or not. They're both of age and they're both consensual, whereas this really stuck out to me as just being very icky.
Very icky.
Choosing schoolgirls off the school bus.
Yeah, it left a bit of a nasty taste in my mouth. As well as a lot of boobs and jiggling bums, there's a lot of disco scenes.
I felt there was quite a few of them. A lot of padding there, but needless to say, the disco scenes were fabulous. Fabulously shot, fabulously lit, fabulously dressed and designed.
Clearly all filmed in one day.
Yeah.
And they filmed at Tramp nightclub. Tramp, Hobo. See what they did there?
Yeah,
Jackie Collins' husband owned Tramp at the time. Tramp was like at Annabelle's, you know, one of those celebrity. Right. When you look at a nightclub like that, it looked like it was a bit of a church hall with like the posh wood paneling on the walls. But this is a nightclub for rich people, for posh people, isn't it? And you get a few cameo slots. Groups like The Real Thing, you know, were huge at the time. Legs and Co., the Top of the Pops dance troupe. Yeah, they're in the audience, along with Floyd. 2 years before Floyd was sacked from Top of the Pops, when Pan's People left, they wanted to create a mixed sex group. Dancing girls have been on Top of the Pops since like the early 60s. And so they introduced this group called Ruby Flipper, which had Floyd, a black male, and another white male dancer with 4 girls. But the Top of the Pops viewers complained because they didn't want to see a black man dancing with. So back to that whole thing about Viv Anderson, the footballer. This is the fucking climate of open racism that you're getting. So very quickly, the 2 boys were ditched and Legs and Co. were formed. And they did a day's filming for this. Now, clearly, I think these scenes were put in at the request of the American market to try and cash in on the... But there are some great disco scenes in this film.
There were great disco scenes. It was very reminiscent of Saturday Night Fever.
Yes, in that they're both set in the disco, but there's a lot more shit dancing in the stud. Joan at one point does this amazing little kind of shoulder jiggle. Hello, lover. You know, it's just terrible. But they're fucking great.
Yeah.
I love them.
They had a certain charm to them.
Yeah, they did.
Didn't they?
They did. They really did.
I really enjoyed the scenes in the nightclubs and seeing Soho late at night in the late 70s.
Grotty, isn't it?
Yeah.
God, really it's grotty. Yeah.
You could leave your Austin Healey 3000 just top down, casually parked outside a nightclub in Soho.
Are you talking cars?
My husband told me what the cars were.
I was going to say, what has happened?
Yeah, it was a red car.
Yeah, me talking about football, you talking about cars. Oh my God, we're going straight.
I think Joni C sent us.
Joni C's turned us.
Oh.
She's turned us.
Turned us back.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there are some classic one-liners. Joan at one point says to Tony, "You reek of sex. It's your main attribute."
Yeah. I bet some people thought, she's right, sophisticated, isn't she? You know, it's just so basic.
There was a scene at Christmas when Joan Collins was in the back of her Bentley, whatever it was, back of her Rolls Royce, whatever. That's as far as my car knowledge goes.
Yeah, you did very well.
The presents were just wrapped up in this kind of, Christmas foil kind of thing to look uber glam.
Yeah.
but it was just all looks just a bit
shit.
A bit
Yeah.
shit. But
Yeah.
that's not to disparage the aesthetics and the design of this film, because I felt that was one of the things that was one of its better attributes.
Yes, yeah. Fontaine is a C word, undoubtedly, but I do kind of like the fact that she's not afraid or ashamed of her sexuality.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's one great scene where she gets Tony back to the apartment and she's got this dress on, looks fucking amazing. And she just whips it off. She goes, right, I've got 15 minutes, whips this frock off. She's got the stocking suspenders, the muff's on show, turns around, her backside's on show. It's like on the bed, you know.
Made me stop and rewind that bit just to watch it again because it was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, that's class, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just whip your coat off, just quick one, 15 minutes, come on, get cracking. And what her pal says, I think she had a conversation with her pal, and she says, I'd be classed as a ball breaker, you know, and she is, I guess.
Yeah. Can we talk about the Paris incident, which I'm really excited to talk about? So...
It's fucking nuts.
Story-wise, it's like a little vignette. Joan Collins has promised her best mate a crack at Tony.
Yeah.
Basically, he's the sex object that keeps getting passed around. Joni's like, let's all go to Paris and you can have Tony.
Yeah.
So Tony gets summoned to Paris.
Yeah.
Meets Joan in the back of the cab at the airport. Tony doesn't really want to go.
No,
he's over it.
He's with Alex. He loves Alex at this point.
Yeah, he loves the stepdaughter.
We need to talk about the sex scene between Alex and Tony as well, because that was something else.
Yeah. Joan is in her fur coat.
Yeah. All fur coat, no knickers, literally.
Well, lets it slip. Very, very little on underneath.
Yeah.
Very Justify My Love kind of vibe going on. And then gets taken to this private house in Paris.
Which is stunning.
It's stunning. It's kind of like an Isha kind of vibe, but with a swimming pool underneath and a kind of like a love swing that swings over the pool. And then
plants everywhere.
Plants everywhere. Yeah. There's dining room conversation and they're all just chatting away. And it's one of those kind of upper class parties that you just look at and you just think, God, you're all a bunch of knobs.
Yes. Yeah, they really were.
Yeah.
Really were.
After they've had a few little drinks and stuff, they all disrobe, get into the pool and stuff. Tony's very disgruntled, he doesn't want anything to do with it, but he's necked a load of drugs.
Yes, there's a few drugs mentioned in this film, aren't there? Some uppers, there's some...
And then there's an orgy ensues, which is like a montage of boobs, muffs, bums,
people on a swing having sex.
On swings having sex.
Yeah.
Tony's almost passed out in the pool, comes round, sees being given a blowjob by one of the male visitors. Yes, there's also an undercurrent of homophobia in this film we should talk about in a second. Is. Yeah, there's not much
not much for the gays. No, not at all.
The whole sequence is really erratically directed. The sound editing and
the music kind of goes all David Cronenberg.
It's like you've literally just dropped an acid tap in the middle of this film.
It's bonkers, isn't it? Apparently, Sue Lloyd and Joan Collins had to get absolutely pissed when they were filming this scene. It's the only way they could get through it. Has to be seen to be believed.
Okay, let's segue on to Joan's stepdaughter Alexandra and Tony. Tony falls head over heels in love with this schoolgirl.
Yes, who's very mousy at first, but then gives herself a glam makeover like just 17.
Yeah.
Comes back down the stairs into Hobo. And then they have this sex scene, which is the most anodyne, sexless thing I've ever seen. At one point, the soundtrack changes. You know, obviously when Fontaine's having sex with Tony, it's all wah-wah guitars and thrusting. For Tony and Alex, it's kind of softy, sweeping violins coming in, you know. But Alex just seems to lie there on her back, just moving her head from side to side. That's all she does. There's not one hint of ecstasy or pleasure on her face, God love her.
There's a close-up lick of a nipple.
Close-up lick of a nipple, And the next morning he tells you he thinks he loves her.
Yeah.
I mean...
It's crazy.
Come on, Tony.
Yeah.
As we've mentioned, there is quite a horrible undercurrent of homophobia. There's a camp character in it who gets the piss taken out of him. Mm-hmm. There's a mention of bum chums. There's faggots. And obviously when Tony realises it's a bloke sucking his willy, he really freaks out. I mean, it's not the through line through the whole film,
No.
but it is just another bit of a...
Just like a little residual that they thought was acceptable and able just to get away with.
Yeah,
you know?
bring a gay character in order to take the piss and denigrate him, and then the character fucks off,
and
you know.
the gay character, as they often are in films of the 70s and early 80s, the most flamboyantly, overtly gay character.
Camp, neck scarf, the whole thing, because
Yeah.
at the time, the conflation between homosexuality and femininity is absolutely right there.
Yeah.
You know, on television and films, as we've discussed, the only representation of gay characters is Camp, Dick Emery, Larry Grayson, John Inman, you know.
One of my main bugbears about this movie is, so Tony has fallen head over heels with this stepdaughter, Alexandra, goes to her stepmother's stately home and is basically kind of like ridiculed and put down as
for being working class.
And he declares his love for Alexandra, and she tells him where to go. Says, I don't want you here. Says, you're just a cheap gigolo in a little nightclub. I only did it to get back at my stepmother kind of vibe. He's absolutely gutted. Leaves, cue sad music, and we're meant to feel sorry for Tony. And I just thought... Actually, you're as much a player in this game as everybody else.
Yeah.
But because you're the stud.
Yeah.
Because you're a male.
Yeah.
And that's the way the narrative of the story is geared.
Yeah.
Then at that precise moment where you've made a living for fucking around all of London and you've literally seduced an underage schoolgirl and fallen in love with her.
Yeah.
But because you're being cast out into the wilderness, we're going to feel sorry for you. Oh,
I
poor
know.
Tony.
He gets a little Incredible Hulk when David managed to walk down the road with sad piano music. So fuck off.
Poor the stud.
Poor the stud. My heart bleeds just because a woman's actually turned you down.
Yeah.
Do you know who was supposed to play the stud? Who was up for it originally? I want you to control yourself here.
Benny Hill.
David Essex was up for the part.
My friend.
Your friend David Essex.
Friend of the podcast.
Blue
David
Eyes
Essex.
himself. Yeah.
I think they made the right choice of Oliver Tobias.
I think they did. David Essex is in a 1973 kind of a sexy film, which we've probably watched actually, about a rock star.
Oh, really?
And he has a couple of sex scenes in that. A lot of boobs. Debbie Watling, one of the former Doctor Who girls, in it with the boobs out.
Really?
Everyone gets their boobs out in the 70s, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the way to get bums on seats in the cinema by this point in the British film industry. Yeah, but don't feel sorry for Tony.
Don't feel sorry for Tony. Pretty privilege. That's what he's got by on.
Yeah, he really has. Clearly, men don't wash their hands after having a pee in this film. We get a couple of scenes at urinal.
There was a couple of scenes at urinals where it's basically get your cock out, start peeing, and then lean against the wall and have a business meeting.
A fucking business meeting while someone's having a piss. And then just leave.
Yeah.
No hand washing at all.
I can honestly say I've never had a business meeting while I've been stood at the urinals with someone.
I wouldn't call it a business meeting, darling.
See, that's why I always go for a sit down wee.
Cubicle.
So just to sum up, I felt this film really encapsulated the era it was in.
Mm-hmm.
The ultimate message of it was the dark side of excess.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was quite interesting. If we think the effect this had on Joan's career, you know, this really did give her a resurgence. At the same time, to certain people, it does give her a bad reputation. She becomes like a slut. And my dad would say whenever she's on the street, oh, there's that old slag. When The Bitch comes out, there's a very famous shot of her in it with the chauffeur's cap on, the stockings and suspenders and the fur coat, you know, and that's the kind of publicity photo.
Yeah.
It was on a huge billboard in LA, and when they were casting Alexis, Dynasty had been on for one season, and Alexis brought in at the very end of season one. And John Forsyth really did not want Joan Collins to get the part of Alexis because he'd seen this billboard and he thought she was a slut. And he was really, really petitioned very hard against her. So, what would you rate this film?
I would rate this film 6.5 garter belts out of 10.
Wow, gosh.
I would say.
Gosh.
I loved the aesthetic of it. I loved Joan Collins' outrageous performance in it. I loved her wardrobe. And I loved the amazing soundtrack and the riff on Saturday Night Fever. But ultimately, I found it was quite a basic story dressed in style and sex.
That's a very good way of putting it. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to give it 2 marks.
Yeah.
As a film, I'm going to give it 3 private elevators out of 10. As a camp, outrageous classic, it's a 10 for me. I love it, but I hate to love it.
Yeah.
It just leaves me feeling slightly soiled.
Wondered what that smell was.
Sorry about that.
That was The Stud.
Yes, it
Dr.
was.
Lee Arnott.
Yes. Now, what are we doing next week, Dave Moore?
Now, next week, we're going to be looking at a UK docu-comedy from 1997 called Brass Eye. Now, Brass Eye was controversial, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Can you explain a little bit why?
Well, it was a spoof kind of news show, wasn't it? It's supposed to be very earnest, in a style of kind of Jeremy Paxman. We're going to be looking at the episode called Drugs. Caused a huge stink at the time. And we will examine them to see why.
We're also gearing up towards June.
Yes.
Which is Pride Month in the UK.
When's it straight Pride Month?
All right, Nigel. We're going to be steering our episodes on the gay slant, aren't we?
More towards the gays.
More towards the gays.
The puffs and the lezzers. Yeah. It'll be great. It'll be fun.
But that's in a couple of weeks' time.
That's a couple of weeks, yeah.
But next week, Brass Eye.
Brass
We'll
Eye.
post a link.
So, yeah. So what lessons have we learnt today, gazers? What have we learnt today? We've learnt that money can't buy you happiness. We've learnt that all that glitters is not gold.
Joan Collins looks absolutely fabulous in every single frame of this movie.
Yes, we have. And there's a lesson for us all, gazers.
Yes.
Yeah.
On that note, we just want to ask our gazers, again, to give us a follow if you've liked this episode. Please look back at our back catalogue where you'll find a plethora of topics to delve into.
And get in touch.
Yes.
We love to
do.
hear from you.
And if you want to follow us, we're on Instagram and TikTok at Podcast Gaze.
And you can email us at theproblematicgaze@gmail.com.
Yes.
Au reservoir.
Au reservoir.